little Comic-Con again today. So what we're going to do this time is look at the location for Dungeons and Dragons, the offsite that was all made public today, but also kind of show you, like we did with movies last week, of what the walkway looks like, or the path. So we're going to flip the camera around here. So we're starting out at 6th and K, which if we look over here, I know a favorite for some people, or at least a part of their con, is that Subway over on K and the Crunch Time ice cream are both there. So you get an idea of orientation here. If you've not been familiar with this area, down over there is the convention center. We've got the Omni right there. And then of course, Hard Rock and so on. We've got Petco down that way as well. So we're starting out here 6th and K. We're gonna go down here a couple blocks actually to get to Dungeons and Dragons. And this looks like a really cool offsite for sure. Sounds like some great swag. It said it was what, a 20-minute experience. Hello there, Night Bodega. Hello to everybody that's going to be checking in on this video now or later on. So there's actually quite a few food options that are available, some new, some old, on the way here. So Moonshine Flats, a nightclub kind of bar set up there. Not sure if they'll have expanded hours as with any of these during Comic-Con, but hopefully so. Then this Geek Fusion spot here. I believe this one is new since the last Comic-Con, or new just in general here. And they've got the extra outdoor seating. Take a look at the menu real quick as we go by. Looks like a good spot, not one that we have tried. One that we have tried, though, several times, Broken Yoke, right here, returning in the same location as the past. They do have the additional seating, as you can see as well, which, again, from past videos, if you've watched, you know, they have until July 13th, I believe it is, to put in the permits to keep that sort of seating. And our understanding is this is exactly what the city wants, which is open air. They don't want ceilings. They don't want lighting installed or any of those things. But Broken Yoke returning the water grill. Nice big open air, kind of indoor, outdoor vibe. And then again, they have the added seating, which looks very permanent. So maybe they're going to put the money into keeping that here. Not sure. But as you can tell, versus like when we were down by G Street and stuff, a lot more food options here, even more than 5th Street in terms of ones that have stayed open. Now, the breakfast company across the way here, obviously specializing in breakfast, this is taking over the spot that was Panda Express, the temporary pop-up Panda Express in 2019 that kind of surprised at Comic-Con. Nason's Hall, still active, as well as J6. And they've added, you can see breakfast, so I'd imagine that's going to be all available here during the convention as well. Let's see if they have their menu out. They have their breakfast menu out. Yeah, I liked the Panda Express pop-up too. It was just a funny, cool little surprise thing at Comic-Con in a lot of ways. And I liked seeing the panda walking around out on 5th Street at times. So yeah, the breakfast company has become a really popular breakfast spot here in the Gaslamp. Every time we've come down here, we have not eaten there, but it's had a good number of people, regardless of the time. All right, and on this block is where we're going to get to the D&D spot. So similar to movies, it's a bit of a walk, not as close as things in the Bayfront lawn or stuff like that, but not too bad. Definitely closer than the movies one. All right, there we got, yes, the weather is, what, nearly 20 degrees cooler than we were here last week. I did not apply enough sunblock and got burnt the way I don't think I've ever been burned before last Wednesday. So it's nice to be back. And I put the sunblock on anyway this time. And then I saw a comment, loving the breakfast company, and that is good to hear. All right, so here's our spot of that D&D takeover. So if you looked, Comic-Con's official blog had a post with it. IGN had a post with it with the concept art. It would look like we actually used their concept art from the Paramount press release in our own thumbnail for this video. You get an idea of what they are doing with this spot. I don't think I have ever been inside this building, if I recall. I know it's been a popular spot for some parties. I believe the way I remember this is, I forget the actor's name, but Hodor from Game of Thrones would DJ here, but I have never actually set foot inside. So Nova will be tying into Dungeons and Dragons, and Dungeons and Dragons, the way they're approaching Comic-Con is always like my favorite thing. Is it's a movie that honestly I hadn't really thought much at all about, and then actually there you can see the private Comic-Con event. So it's nice to see that on their calendar there. But it's a movie I didn't think a ton about, and all of a sudden they're doing a Hall H panel, and they're doing an offsite, and they're going to do swag, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, maybe this will be a movie that interests me. I always do like supporting the Comic-Con movies. Those that come out and really support Comic-Con, I like to kind of support back. So I will probably buy a ticket to see Dungeons and Dragons, even if it has some bad reviews. Hopefully it doesn't, though. Hopefully it's a great movie. So yeah, not too long of a walk. Island, if you remember the Wonder Woman Invisible Jet, if you were at Comic-Con that year, one of the locations for that was right here on the other side of that. So that might be another frame of reference for people that aren't as familiar with this side of the Gaslamp over here. If you're staying at Courtyard Marriott, there's your building there. The Pendry is right on the other side of this, so those are a few more landmarks. So just a few blocks. Just remember with everything with Comic-Con, as we're doing these kind of walking tours, that if you are doing the walk to come check out an offsite, if you have like a time, because they said they're going to be putting out RSVPs this week, that, or I guess it didn't say this week, it just said to watch social media, I believe. But anyway, if you have a time slot, remember these pathways get a lot more crowded. And if you've not been to Comic-Con, know that it can take a while just to cross the street. Even with Harbor closed off up there, it can take a bit to get across there. So hopefully this gave a little bit of an idea of some of the food that's on 6th Street here, what's still open. A lot more options that are new than what we had on 5th Street for sure, or over off of G and all of that. I'd say this is one of the more thriving areas in terms of food options. And honestly, I usually find it's one of the more often overlooked areas of Comic-Con for food for a lot of people. And so it might be a fun stop on the way to the Dungeons and Dragons offsite. But again, make sure to allow yourself time to get over there. So today we are in San Diego. In addition to this, we are going to have our convention center video coming up in the next few days here. That's going to kind of show you where to line up, talk about the COVID wristbands, some strategies for the floor, for panels, all that type of stuff. So everything inside the convention center versus last week when we talked about all outside stuff. And then the planned 4 o'clock Pacific time, going to jump on live and do a talk about some of the stuff we found down here, some of the news in Comic-Con this week, some Comic-Con tips, and all of that. So if you can join us, please do so. It'll be me solo this time. Carmel stayed back in town because we have a pet that needs some post-surgical care. So not a great time to have surgery right before Comic-Con, but things had to be taken care of. And so hopefully our pet is doing well, and hopefully you'll understand why I will be solo today. So with that said, going to wrap up here. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully see a bunch of you at 4 o'clock. Until next time, we'll see you in line somewhere.